At exactly 9:47 that evening, the first convoy of luxury vehicles was seen approaching a lavish estate illuminated by thousands of golden lights. Powerful searchlights swept across the night sky, while an endless red carpet stretched toward a magnificent entrance, decorated with towering white flowers, crystal chandeliers, and shimmering fountains. According to sources, the venue had been prepared for months, with every detail reportedly designed to create one of the most breathtaking wedding celebrations ever imagined. Security teams lined every entrance, photographers fought for the perfect angle, and the sound of camera shutters echoed through the warm Nigerian night without stopping for even a second. Rumors spread rapidly that some of the country's biggest names in film, music, business, and politics had already arrived. According to several reports, award-winning actors, legendary musicians, influential producers, and respected public figures were believed to be among the distinguished guests gathering to witness an unforgettable moment. No one outside truly knew what was happening behind the enormous golden gates, yet millions of people continued refreshing their screens, desperate to catch another glimpse of what many were already calling the wedding of the century. Then, just as anticipation reached its highest point, the master of ceremonies stepped onto the dazzling stage, paused for a few unforgettable seconds, and spoke only two words that instantly sent waves of emotion across the audience. The groom, Ramsey Nouah. At 55 years old, the man who had spent decades making audiences laugh, cry, and believe in the power of love was no longer standing beneath movie lights or performing before cameras. Tonight, he was standing before the woman he had chosen to spend the rest of his life with. According to this fictional narrative, that woman was Amelia Phillips Nouah, the person many believed had quietly become the greatest source of peace after years filled with pressure, sacrifice, emotional wounds, and countless moments hidden behind the glamorous world of entertainment. The applause that followed seemed endless, yet behind every smile there appeared to be another story waiting to be told. Those who had followed Ramsey's remarkable career remembered the countless romantic roles that made him one of Nollywood's most beloved leading men. On screen, he had portrayed fearless lovers, devoted husbands, and men willing to lose everything for the people they cherished. But according to those close to the fictional story unfolding tonight, real life had demanded a far greater price than any screenplay could ever capture. Behind years of success were moments of exhaustion, difficult choices, painful disappointments, and silent heartbreaks that never reached cinema screens. Every standing ovation had reportedly come after nights of relentless work. Every smiling photograph had perhaps hidden memories of betrayal, loneliness, or dreams postponed by responsibility. That was why this extraordinary evening seemed to mean far more than a luxurious celebration. It appeared to symbolize the closing of one long chapter and the uncertain beginning of another. Guests whispered softly as the orchestra began playing a gentle melody. Crystal glasses reflected thousands of dancing lights, while elegant floral arrangements covered nearly every corner of the grand ballroom. According to reports, the decoration alone was believed to have reached astonishing proportions, featuring imported flowers, handcrafted crystal sculptures, and custom-designed lighting that transformed the entire venue into something resembling a royal palace rather than an ordinary wedding hall. Outside, hundreds of journalists continued broadcasting live, while helicopters were reportedly seen circling overhead to capture breathtaking aerial images of the celebration. Across social media, millions of viewers debated the same question. Was this truly the most luxurious celebrity wedding of the year, or was there another reason why the entire world seemed unable to look away? Some believed it was the spectacular display of wealth. Others believed it was because Ramsey Nouah had spent so many years becoming the face of timeless romance that seeing him stand before the woman he had chosen felt almost cinematic. Yet according to whispers spreading quietly among invited guests, the greatest story of the evening had nothing to do with diamonds, luxury cars, designer suits, or priceless decorations. It was believed to be the emotional journey that had led him to this very moment after years marked by difficult choices, private struggles, painful losses, and the quiet hope that true companionship might still exist regardless of age. As Amelia slowly prepared to enter beneath the glowing lights, every conversation inside the magnificent hall suddenly faded into silence. Every camera turned toward the enormous doors, and for one long, unforgettable second, the entire room appeared frozen while the orchestra lowered its volume until only the faint sound of distant footsteps could be heard approaching from beyond the golden entrance. The music gradually softened, and as the excitement of the grand entrance slowly settled, the story quietly traveled back through the years, long before the dazzling lights, the luxurious decorations, and the celebration that had captured so much attention. Long before what many were calling a million-dollar wedding, there was simply a young man carrying an ambitious dream. Ramsey Nouah entered the entertainment industry with determination, hoping only to tell meaningful stories through the screen. According to many accounts, his natural talent quickly attracted attention, and it was not long before audiences began recognizing him as one of Nollywood's most charismatic leading men. One successful film followed another. Award nominations, standing ovations, and growing international recognition transformed him into a household name. His schedule reportedly became overwhelming, with film productions, interviews, promotional tours, charity events, and endless public appearances filling nearly every corner of his calendar. To millions of fans, it appeared that he had achieved everything a performer could ever wish for. Fame, admiration, financial success, and the respect of an entire industry seemed to surround him everywhere he went. Yet according to numerous reports and longtime observers, the spotlight often comes with a hidden cost that few people truly understand. Behind every glamorous premiere, there are sleepless nights. Behind every smiling photograph, there can be silent exhaustion. Behind every successful career, there are moments when personal happiness must quietly wait its turn. For someone constantly recognized wherever he walked, protecting a private life was believed to have become increasingly difficult. Every public appearance invited speculation. Every friendship became the subject of rumors. Every quiet moment risked becoming tomorrow's headline. According to sources, living under constant public attention can slowly blur the line between the person the audience sees and the individual who exists away from the cameras. It is a life where trust becomes precious, privacy becomes rare, and genuine peace often feels farther away than success itself. Those closest to the fictional narrative suggested that while audiences celebrated the unforgettable characters Ramsey portrayed on screen, very few truly considered the emotional weight carried by the man behind those performances. Success can fill theaters, but it cannot always fill empty evenings. Applause can echo loudly inside an auditorium, yet disappear completely when the lights go out. There were moments, according to this fictional story, when achievements alone could not erase the quiet feeling that something meaningful was still missing. As years passed, the world continued seeing an accomplished actor whose confidence rarely seemed to fade. Yet every passing birthday quietly reminded him that time never pauses for anyone. Friends built families, children grew older, new generations entered the industry, careers evolved, life continued moving forward with remarkable speed. According to many observers, perhaps the greatest challenge was never becoming famous, but remaining emotionally grounded while living inside that fame every single day. It is often said that finding the right person becomes more complicated when millions of strangers believe they already know who you are. Some people may be attracted to the celebrity rather than the human being. Others may admire the image while never discovering the heart beneath it. Trust, patience, and sincerity reportedly become qualities far more valuable than wealth or public admiration. That is why, according to those following this imagined journey, the magnificent celebration unfolding tonight represented something much deeper than extraordinary luxury. The sparkling chandeliers, the designer suits, the priceless jewelry, and the endless rows of elegant flowers were not, perhaps, the true foundation of this wedding. Those could all be purchased. What could never be bought were the years of waiting, the lessons learned through disappointment, the moments of loneliness hidden behind success, the sacrifices demanded by an extraordinary career, and the quiet hope that somewhere, beyond all the applause and attention, the right person would eventually appear. Perhaps that was why so many guests inside the ballroom seemed unexpectedly emotional. They were not simply witnessing two people preparing to exchange vows. According to whispers shared among those present, they were witnessing the reward for years of perseverance, resilience, and faith that love sometimes arrives not when life is easiest, but when two people are finally ready to recognize each other. And as the orchestra gently transitioned into another melody, Ramsey slowly lifted his eyes toward the entrance where Amelia was expected to appear, completely unaware that the next few moments were about to leave even the most celebrated guests standing in stunned silence. The grand ballroom remained wrapped in an almost sacred silence as every pair of eyes slowly turned toward the towering golden doors. The orchestra lowered its melody until only the gentle sound of a violin floated through the room. Then, almost imperceptibly, the doors began to open. It was not an explosive entrance, nor one designed to overwhelm the audience. Instead, it unfolded with remarkable calm, allowing every second to settle naturally into the hearts of those watching. According to this fictional narrative, Emilia Phillips Nouah appeared beneath the warm glow of crystal chandeliers, dressed in an elegant gown that reflected thousands of tiny lights across the polished marble floor. There was no need for dramatic gestures or extravagant expressions. Her quiet confidence seemed to speak louder than any applause ever could. The cameras immediately turned toward her, but what captured everyone's attention was not the dress, nor the jewelry, nor even the luxurious setting surrounding her. It was Ramsey's face. For the first time that evening, according to those present, the celebrated actor appeared completely unaware of the cameras following his every movement. His eyes remained fixed on only one person. The confident movie star whom audiences had admired for decades suddenly looked like an ordinary man seeing the woman he loved walking toward him. There was a softness in his expression that no film director could have instructed and no screenplay could have written. His smile arrived slowly, almost as though it had been waiting for years to appear. According to several sources within this imagined story, those closest to the couple had quietly noticed this transformation long before the wedding night. They reportedly spoke less about spectacular romantic moments and more about peaceful, everyday ones. They remembered seeing Ramsey laugh more often during family gatherings. They noticed that conversations with him no longer revolved entirely around film schedules, production meetings, or business commitments. Instead, he appeared increasingly interested in simple evenings at home, quiet family dinners, meaningful conversations, and moments that rarely attracted public attention. According to people believed to know the couple, the greatest change was not visible on a movie screen, but in the rhythm of his daily life. Invitations to glamorous celebrity parties became less frequent, not because they stopped arriving, but because he reportedly chose to decline many of them. Endless nights beneath flashing lights gradually gave way to mornings shared with loved ones. Success no longer seemed measured only by awards or box office achievements, but by the comfort of returning home to someone who genuinely understood him beyond the public image. Those who had spent years working alongside Ramsey were said to have noticed subtle differences that outsiders might easily overlook. His laughter came more naturally. His patience seemed deeper. Even during demanding filming schedules, he reportedly carried a sense of calm that had once been difficult to find. According to whispers shared among close friends in this fictional account, Emilia never attempted to compete with his fame or stand in front of his accomplishments. Instead, she quietly walked beside him, becoming the steady presence that required no headlines. She was believed to understand that some victories happen in silence, far away from red carpets and television interviews. Perhaps that was why their appearances together always seemed remarkably effortless. There were no exaggerated displays designed to impress photographers, no carefully rehearsed performances for public attention. Instead, there were simple glances exchanged across crowded rooms, quiet smiles understood only by the two of them, and small gestures that revealed a connection built on trust rather than spectacle. According to several reports within this fictional narrative, many relatives privately admitted that they had rarely seen Ramsey appear so genuinely at ease. The pressures that had once seemed permanently attached to his public life appeared lighter whenever Amelia was nearby. She reportedly became not only his companion, but also the person who reminded him that life continued beyond film sets, premieres, interviews, and endless public expectations. As guests watched them standing together beneath the brilliant lights, many slowly began to understand something that could never be measured by the value of the decorations surrounding them. The true luxury of the evening was not the magnificent ballroom, the designer fashion, or the countless sparkling diamonds reflecting beneath the chandeliers. It was the quiet certainty visible in the eyes of two people who, according to this imagined story, had finally found peace after years of searching through the noise of fame. Behind every successful man, people often speak about talent, determination, discipline, and ambition. Yet on this unforgettable night, many guests seemed to reach a different conclusion. Sometimes the strongest foundation is neither wealth nor recognition, but the presence of one person willing to remain beside you when the cameras disappear. And just as Ramsey gently extended his hand toward Amelia, while the audience rose to their feet in applause, a familiar face seated quietly among the distinguished guests lowered their eyes, as though remembering a chapter from the past that almost no one else in the room knew still existed. As the couple stood together beneath the golden lights, the atmosphere inside the magnificent venue began to shift once again. The emotional silence that had filled the room slowly gave way to renewed excitement as guests were invited to discover the extraordinary celebration that had reportedly been prepared for this unforgettable evening. According to sources, planning for the event was believed to have taken many months, with teams of designers, architects, florists, lighting specialists, and event producers working tirelessly to transform an already luxurious location into something that resembled a royal palace. Every direction revealed another breathtaking detail. Towering arrangements of fresh white roses, orchids, peonies, and lilies appeared to stretch endlessly throughout the ballroom, creating the illusion that guests were walking through an elegant garden rather than an indoor venue. Crystal sculptures reflected thousands of tiny lights from every angle, while enormous chandeliers suspended high above the ballroom cast a warm golden glow across polished marble floors. According to several reports, many decorative elements were believed to have been specially commissioned for the celebration, making each corner of the venue unique and impossible to replicate. The grand stage stood at the heart of the ballroom, surrounded by shimmering curtains, elegant floral arches, and countless candles whose gentle light danced across the crystal decorations. Behind the stage, an orchestra composed of accomplished musicians performed timeless love songs that rose and fell with perfect precision, filling the room with melodies that seemed to embrace every guest. Every transition between performances was carefully choreographed, allowing the evening to unfold like a beautifully directed motion picture rather than a traditional wedding reception. According to those following this fictional story, no detail appeared accidental. Every flower seemed intentionally placed. Every beam of light appeared designed to highlight emotion rather than extravagance alone. Beyond the main hall, guests reportedly discovered an equally remarkable dining experience. Long banquet tables were decorated with handcrafted centerpieces, delicate crystal glassware, and elegant table settings prepared with extraordinary precision. According to sources, the menu was believed to feature an impressive selection of international cuisine alongside celebrated Nigerian culinary traditions, offering guests everything from refined seafood dishes and premium grilled specialties to carefully prepared local favorites served with modern presentation. Renowned pastry chefs were reportedly invited to create spectacular desserts, while an enormous multi-tier wedding cake decorated with edible gold accents became one of the evening's most photographed attractions. As the celebration continued, conversations quickly spread beyond the ceremony itself. According to reports, the overall cost of organizing such a magnificent event was believed to be extraordinary, though no official figures were ever confirmed within this fictional narrative. That uncertainty only fueled even greater fascination across social media, where millions of viewers debated every new image appearing online. Some attempted to estimate the value of the decorations. Others discussed the custom-designed wedding attire. Many focused on the luxurious venue itself, yet almost every new photograph generated thousands of comments within minutes. Outside the ballroom, the arrival of distinguished guests continued attracting enormous attention. According to several reports, respected business leaders, celebrated film directors, award-winning actors, accomplished musicians, influential producers, and well-known public personalities were believed to have gathered to witness the occasion. Each new arrival prompted another explosion of camera flashes. Every handshake, every embrace, and every conversation became the subject of endless online discussion. Fashion critics analyzed every elegant gown. Tailored tuxedos quickly became trending topics. Jewelry experts debated the remarkable diamonds appearing throughout the evening. Even the smallest accessories reportedly inspired countless articles and social media posts. Every dress seemed to tell its own story. Every perfectly tailored suit reflected remarkable craftsmanship. Every bouquet, every chair, every candle, every crystal centerpiece appeared to contribute to an atmosphere unlike anything guests had experienced before. According to many online observers, this fictional celebration no longer resembled an ordinary celebrity wedding. It had evolved into something much larger. It felt almost like a tribute to enduring love itself, a rare evening where elegance, emotion, patience, and hope seemed to exist in perfect harmony beneath one magnificent roof. Yet while the world admired the breathtaking luxury surrounding Ramsey Nouah and Amelia Phillips Nouah, very few people noticed an elderly gentleman quietly standing near the far corner of the ballroom, holding an old photograph in his hands, staring silently toward the couple as though one forgotten memory from many years earlier had suddenly returned with unexpected force. The conversations gradually faded into silence once again. One by one, the musicians lowered the volume of their instruments until only the soft notes of a single piano echoed through the magnificent ballroom. The brilliant lights dimmed ever so slightly, leaving only a warm golden glow illuminating the long aisle that stretched toward the entrance. Every camera operator instinctively adjusted their lenses. Television crews prepared for what many believed would become the defining image of the evening. Then, without warning, the enormous doors slowly began to open once more. This time, however, everything moved as though time itself had chosen to slow down. According to this fictional narrative, no one spoke. No master of ceremonies interrupted the silence. No applause broke the stillness. There was only music and expectation. Amelia Phillips Nouah appeared beneath the soft light with remarkable grace, taking her first careful steps onto the flower-lined aisle. The delicate fabric of her gown seemed to drift effortlessly across the polished marble floor, while countless crystal reflections shimmered around her like tiny stars. Every movement appeared gentle, almost weightless. The orchestra continued its quiet melody as photographers resisted the urge to rush forward, allowing the moment to unfold naturally before their lenses. Then the camera slowly shifted away from the bride. It found Ramsey. Standing beneath the elegant floral arch, he turned his head toward the entrance. For several unforgettable seconds, he remained completely still. According to several reports within this imagined story, it was not surprise that filled his expression, but recognition. The kind of recognition that only comes after years of waiting, searching, sacrificing, and believing that one day the right person would finally stand before you. His smile did not arrive all at once. It grew slowly, almost involuntarily, softening every feature on his face until even those seated in the back rows could sense that something deeply personal was unfolding beyond the luxury surrounding them. According to many sources, several guests were visibly moved by what they witnessed. Some quietly reached for handkerchiefs. Others lowered their eyes as if remembering their own journeys through love, disappointment, loss, forgiveness, and hope. The cameras captured these reactions one after another. A mother gently wiping away tears. An elderly guest smiling while holding his wife's hand a little tighter. A close friend quietly nodding without saying a single word. None of these moments appeared rehearsed. They simply happened, carried naturally by the emotion filling the room. The cinematographers continued filming in slow motion, focusing not on grand gestures, but on the smallest human details that often say the most. Ramsey's fingers trembled almost imperceptibly before relaxing again. Amelia briefly lowered her eyes, took a steady breath, and then looked back toward him with quiet confidence. Their smiles were modest rather than dramatic. Their expressions carried no performance, only understanding. As the distance between them gradually disappeared, the cameras alternated between close-up shots of their eyes, their hands, and the subtle expressions that words could never fully describe. According to observers following this fictional story, the beauty of the evening no longer rested in the priceless decorations or extraordinary luxury. It rested in these almost invisible moments that could easily have been missed. A gentle glance that lasted only a second. A reassuring smile exchanged across the aisle. A quiet inhale before taking another step forward. The orchestra carefully built toward a richer harmony, but never overwhelmed the silence shared between the couple. Every musical note seemed designed simply to accompany the emotions already present, rather than create them. Around the ballroom, thousands of candles flickered gently beneath towering crystal chandeliers, while the fragrance of fresh flowers drifted through the elegant hall. Outside, according to reports, enormous crowds continued waiting behind security barriers, hoping to witness even a brief glimpse of the celebration. Millions more reportedly watched updates across television broadcasts and social media, where photographs of the ceremony spread around the world within moments. Yet inside the ballroom, none of that appeared to matter anymore. There were no celebrities, no business leaders, no famous directors, no award-winning musicians. For one brief stretch of time, there seemed to be only two people walking toward a future they had chosen together. Ramsey slowly extended his hand. Amelia drew closer until only a single step remained between them. Their eyes met once again. Neither of them spoke. The music softened almost to silence, and just before their hands were about to touch, the camera unexpectedly cut away to the front row, where one distinguished guest quietly stood up, holding a small velvet box that no one had noticed earlier, while an expression of quiet emotion spread across his face, leaving the entire audience wondering why that simple object suddenly seemed so important. As the applause slowly faded and the orchestra softened into a gentle melody once again, the celebration seemed to take on an entirely different meaning. The dazzling lights were still there. The crystal chandeliers continued sparkling above the guests. The magnificent floral arrangements remained as breathtaking as before. Yet somehow, none of those things appeared to be the true center of attention anymore. According to this fictional narrative, something far more profound had quietly emerged beneath all the elegance and luxury. This was no longer simply a wedding. It had become the answer to a journey that had taken an entire lifetime to understand. At 55 years old, Ramsey Nouah had already experienced the kind of success that millions of people spend their lives dreaming about. He had earned admiration, recognition, respect, and an extraordinary career that inspired audiences across generations. His face had become familiar to countless movie lovers. His performances had touched hearts far beyond the borders of his own country. For many, that kind of achievement would appear to represent the highest definition of success. Yet according to those following this imagined story, life has a quiet way of changing what truly matters as the years pass. There comes a moment when applause becomes less important than conversation. when standing ovations become less meaningful than hearing someone ask whether you have arrived home safely, when the excitement of another successful premiere can no longer replace the comfort of sharing an ordinary evening with someone who genuinely understands your silence. Perhaps that is why the atmosphere inside the ballroom felt unexpectedly emotional. Guests were not simply celebrating two people exchanging vows, they were witnessing something that many silently hope to discover themselves but cannot always describe. According to several reports within this fictional account, people close to Ramsey had often noticed that the greatest changes in him were never dramatic. They appeared gradually, almost invisibly. He smiled more often without realizing it. He listened longer before speaking. He seemed less interested in proving himself to the world and more interested in protecting the people closest to him. Those who once measured success through awards and achievements slowly began to recognize another kind of accomplishment: peace. There is a difference between being admired and being understood. Admiration can fill theaters. Understanding fills a home. Admiration may come from millions of strangers. Understanding often comes from one person willing to remain beside you through ordinary days that no camera will ever record. According to this fictional story, Emilia Phillips Nouah represented exactly that quiet presence. Not someone who completed Ramsey's success, but someone who gave it a place to rest. There is an old thought that seems especially true as people grow older. Some individuals discover success remarkably early in life, yet spend decades searching for peace. Others build impressive careers, only to realize much later that achievements cannot replace companionship. Wealth can purchase extraordinary homes, but it cannot guarantee that anyone will be waiting inside them. Recognition can fill calendars with invitations, but it cannot promise that someone will remain after the celebrations have ended. Perhaps real happiness arrives when a person no longer measures life by how many people know their name, but by knowing exactly whose voice they hope to hear at the end of each day. Looking across the ballroom, many guests appeared lost in their own thoughts. Some quietly smiled while watching the couple speak together. Others seemed to remember relationships that had changed the direction of their own lives. According to observers, the wedding had unexpectedly become a mirror in which everyone saw something different. Some saw romance, some saw perseverance, others saw forgiveness, patience, or the quiet reward of never giving up on the possibility that love can arrive at any stage of life. The magnificent decorations now seemed almost secondary to the emotions quietly unfolding around them. The diamonds reflected the lights, but the eyes of the guests reflected memories. The orchestra continued playing, yet the loudest sound inside the ballroom appeared to be the silence shared between people remembering what truly matters, once youth, ambition, and endless competition gradually give way to something much simpler: a place to belong, a hand to hold, someone to return home with. And while Ramsey and Emilia remained beneath the warm glow of the chandeliers, smiling gently as though the world beyond the ballroom had momentarily disappeared, a member of the orchestra slowly unfolded a small, weathered piece of paper hidden inside an old music folder, glanced toward the couple for a brief moment, and quietly closed it again before anyone nearby could see what had been written there. The evening had now reached the point where celebration replaced anticipation. The formal ceremony gradually gave way to a night filled with music, laughter, heartfelt embraces, and unforgettable memories that, according to this fictional narrative, would remain with everyone present long after the final song had faded. Beneath the glow of countless crystal chandeliers, guests slowly rose from their seats as the orchestra transitioned into a magnificent performance that echoed throughout the ballroom. One by one, glasses were lifted into the air. Smiles spread naturally across every table. Applause rolled through the hall like a gentle wave before growing louder with every passing second until the entire venue seemed to vibrate with warmth and admiration. According to several sources within this imagined story, many distinguished guests privately described the evening as one of the most remarkable celebrations they had ever attended. Accomplished filmmakers exchanged congratulations with celebrated actors. Award-winning musicians embraced longtime friends, while respected business leaders, producers, directors, and public figures gathered beneath the golden lights, sharing conversations that blended nostalgia with genuine happiness for the couple. There appeared to be no separation between fame and ordinary emotion. For one unforgettable evening, everyone seemed united by the same simple reason: to witness two people beginning a new chapter together. Outside the magnificent venue, according to reports, hundreds of admirers continued waiting patiently behind elegant security barriers, hoping to catch even the briefest glimpse of the celebration. Some held flowers. Others proudly displayed photographs collected throughout Ramsey Nouah's remarkable career. Groups of longtime supporters applauded whenever another luxury vehicle arrived, believing that each arrival might reveal another familiar face from Nollywood. Across social media, excitement reportedly spread at extraordinary speed. Photographs, short video clips, and imagined behind-the-scenes moments quickly circulated around the world. Countless congratulatory messages appeared from fans who had followed Ramsey's journey for decades. Some wrote that they had grown up watching his films. Others expressed hope that happiness would continue accompanying him in this new chapter of life. According to online observers within this fictional account, the celebration rapidly became one of the most widely discussed entertainment events in Nigeria, inspiring endless conversations across digital platforms throughout the evening. Every newly released image generated thousands of reactions within moments. Every elegant detail sparked fresh discussion. Every smile shared between Ramsey and Amelia became another photograph admired by countless viewers. Yet despite the extraordinary luxury, many comments focused not on wealth, but on the quiet emotion visible between the couple. As darkness settled completely over the estate, the celebration reached another breathtaking moment. Without warning, the lights surrounding the gardens gently dimmed. The orchestra paused for a heartbeat. Guests instinctively turned toward the open sky. Then the first firework burst into brilliant gold above the ballroom, illuminating the night with dazzling light. Another followed in deep silver, then crimson, sapphire blue, emerald green. One magnificent display after another painted the sky in shimmering colors that reflected across fountains, crystal decorations, and the smiling faces gathered below. The music returned with renewed energy, perfectly synchronized with every explosion of light overhead. According to those witnessing the fictional event, it no longer felt like an ordinary wedding reception. It resembled the climactic scene of an epic romantic film, where every detail had been carefully composed to celebrate hope, perseverance, and love. Laughter echoed through the gardens. Children pointed excitedly toward the fireworks. Couples quietly held hands while watching the dazzling display. The orchestra blended seamlessly with the sound of fireworks, creating an atmosphere that felt almost unreal. Elegant gowns shimmered beneath the colored lights. Tailored tuxedos reflected flashes of gold and silver, and every corner of the venue seemed alive with celebration. Camera operators moved carefully through the crowd, capturing spontaneous embraces, heartfelt conversations, joyful laughter, and quiet smiles that no script could ever reproduce. The evening unfolded with the effortless rhythm of cinema, where every glance seemed meaningful and every frame appeared worthy of becoming a lasting memory. Yet amid the applause, the music, and the breathtaking spectacle above, one camera quietly drifted away from the celebration and settled on Ramsey Nouah for only a brief moment. While everyone else was looking toward the fireworks illuminating the sky, he seemed to glance in an entirely different direction, toward a quiet balcony at the edge of the estate, where a single silhouette stood motionless in the shadows, watching the celebration without joining the applause, leaving an unexpected question lingering in the minds of everyone who noticed. The celebration gradually began to slow, almost so gently that no one inside the magnificent ballroom seemed to notice the exact moment when excitement quietly transformed into reflection. The orchestra softened its final melody until every note floated delicately through the vast hall before disappearing into silence. One by one, the brilliant chandeliers were dimmed, leaving only a warm, golden light resting softly upon the stage where the evening had begun. According to this fictional narrative, the breathtaking luxury that had captivated so many throughout the night no longer appeared to be the most memorable part of the celebration. The crystal decorations remained untouched. The magnificent floral arrangements still filled the ballroom with their fragrance. The elegant gowns, tailored tuxedos, and priceless jewelry continued sparkling beneath the remaining lights. Yet somehow, none of those things seemed important anymore. What remained was something far quieter, far simpler. Two people who had chosen to walk through the rest of life together. At 55 years of age, after years of ambition, achievements, demanding schedules, public expectations, and countless moments lived beneath the constant attention of cameras, the greatest victory no longer appeared to be recognition. It seemed to be finding someone whose presence required no audience, someone with whom silence no longer felt empty, someone whose company transformed an ordinary evening into something more valuable than applause could ever become. Perhaps that is why so many guests lingered for a few extra moments before leaving. No one appeared eager to disturb the peaceful atmosphere that had quietly settled across the ballroom. Conversations became softer. Smiles became gentler. Farewells were exchanged with warm embraces rather than grand speeches. According to several observers within this imagined story, many guests later admitted that the emotion they carried home had little to do with the extraordinary decorations or the remarkable scale of the event. Instead, they remembered the expressions shared between Ramsey and Amelia, the quiet glance that needed no explanation, the reassuring smile exchanged without words, the simple way they stood beside each other as though the noise of the outside world had gradually disappeared. Outside, luxury vehicles slowly departed through the illuminated gates one after another. The red carpet that had welcomed distinguished guests only hours earlier now stood almost empty beneath the fading lights. Security personnel quietly removed barriers while photographers lowered their cameras, aware that the evening had finally reached its final chapter. Beyond the estate, the crowds that had waited patiently throughout the celebration gradually dispersed into the night, carrying home stories they would likely remember for years to come. The fireworks that had once illuminated the sky had long since vanished, leaving only a peaceful blanket of stars stretching above the quiet landscape. Inside the ballroom, the musicians carefully placed their instruments back into their cases. The last violin rested silently. The grand piano closed with gentle dignity. Staff members moved respectfully through the hall, careful not to disturb the final moments unfolding upon the stage. According to this fictional narrative, Ramsey and Amelia remained standing together long after many of the guests had already departed. There was no dramatic speech, no grand declaration, no final performance intended for cameras. There were simply two people sharing a quiet moment after an extraordinary evening that had seemed almost unreal from beginning to end. The camera slowly began to move backward, retreating farther and farther from the couple without interrupting the silence surrounding them. The enormous ballroom gradually revealed its full scale one final time. Thousands of flowers, crystal chandeliers now glowing faintly, empty chairs where laughter had recently echoed, candlelight flickering gently across polished marble floors. The distance continued to grow until Ramsey and Amelia appeared as two small figures standing together beneath the final pool of golden light. Then the camera settled upon the stage itself. There, resting quietly upon an elegant velvet cushion, lay two wedding rings. They reflected the last remaining beam of light inside the ballroom with remarkable simplicity. No applause remained. No orchestra continued playing. No fireworks filled the sky. Only those two rings, shining softly beneath the final spotlight, seemed to carry the entire meaning of the evening. The camera refused to look away. It remained completely still, allowing the silence to become part of the story itself. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, The final light faded. The golden reflections disappeared. The music dissolved into complete stillness. The screen gradually darkened until nothing remained but blackness and a lingering sense that this had never been merely the story of an extravagant wedding, but the beginning of another chapter whose most meaningful moments would unfold far beyond the reach of cameras, quietly continuing long after the world had stopped watching.